Daniel Howat for Next Best Picture. Rachel, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. Nice to see you.
You as well. Such a pleasure to chat about your film, The Fire Inside. Well, Rachel, you found such success in the industry as a DP and have moved into directing TV. But what was it about Claressa's story and this script that felt right to make your feature directorial debut?
I think the fact that I didn't know Clarissa's story was the thing that was so compelling, I guess. You know, in conjunction, look, Barry Jenkins is an incredible writer and producer. And I loved that the script actually really upends the traditional sports, inspirational sports movie format. I thought Clarissa as a character and as a woman, like she's so inspiring. She's such a legend. So to be able to amplify her story and hopefully get her some of the attention that she's deserved all along was really appealing to me.
And of course, we know that Ryan went through intensive training to take on this role. I understand. I've heard you say that you also did some boxing training to prepare for this film. How do you feel getting a taste of being in the ring better equipped you as a director on this project?
I did. I started boxing as soon as I got the project, and I'm so glad that I did. I wanted to understand what it felt like to hit and to be hit, and I even sparred a little to that end because I wanted the fight scenes to feel really experiential and incredibly subjective, and to feel like, to really put the audience inside the ring and not have it be sort of this objective, long lensy thing like they're a spectator, but to really put them in the fight. And the other thing that paid off tenfold is, to be honest, like Ryan and I ended up doing a decent amount of our own choreography. We had an incredible, stunt choreographer, fight choreographer, but I think sometimes there's a tendency with stunt choreographers to make things just always be big, exciting and big and dynamic. But this is an emotional story, and so much is about communicating the stakes of every fight and where Clarissa is emotionally. And so to be able to, I also do a lot of operating, so to be able to be in the ring, handheld, and know the sport at this point sort of helped me to communicate some of the emotional stakes and make each fight feel very distinct in that way.
Yeah, I'd love to dig in more to how you shot these fight sequences. When you sign on to a boxing movie, of course, there's an unavoidable long history of many incredible boxing films. So how do you set out to make these boxing or training sequences feel fresh and new and really like you're alongside Clarissa?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's with good reason. I think boxing as a canon works especially in film because you do have hand-to-hand combat inside a small space. There's something so dynamic about that. It's not two people shooting at each other from across the street. It's like you're in, it's very eye-to-eye, fist-to-fist. But as far as making sure that we had our own style, some of it was actually about how to make each fight feel different from the next for ourselves. Like, as opposed to giving it a single aesthetic, we have 5 fight scenes all within the first 2/3 of the film. So in order to keep that exciting and dynamic, it was like, okay, is there a good place for a oneer? I do think, oneers can be really exciting in sports, but in boxing in particular, because you can't hide a stunt person. You have to sell every punch. And in our case, the first time you meet Clarissa as an adult, there's nothing we need to communicate other than she is a badass. So what better way? When you do a oneer, sometimes you're compromising eye lines and you can't tell the story, evenly weighted, but we didn't need to. So that was sort of fitting for that. And then, we have another fight where she's far away in China without her coach. And, how do you communicate what that's like for a 16, 17-year-old girl to be on her own and out of her element and and for that, we were mostly interior, in the ring, close and wide, because you don't even have an outside perspective that matters. So it was really more about, kind of letting go of all. I mean, you can see what works and what doesn't work, but I never wanted it to feel like 5 cameras on long lenses shooting in every direction. It's always very subjective. And then just, how do we light each fight differently? How do we set each environment differently? Flint is very analog, even with the lighting. It's like, it's sodium vapor, it's cool white. And then you go to China and it's like suddenly there's LED technology and it's really colorful. And just looking for ways to keep it dynamic and keep it exciting.
I'm so glad you brought up that opening, that first oneer in her first fight. It's incredible, taking you all the way from the balcony all the way in, and then like you said, the very next fight is pretty quick. Lots of quick cuts showing the action. I love the dynamics there. I know Barry's script was adapted from the documentary T-Rex.
Yeah.
How much did the documentary influence your approach to bringing this story to life?
I think the documentary left us a great kind of groundwork for the detail, right? Like we could see exactly what she was wearing, exactly what she was listening to, and make sure we get a lot of the details right. And then there were a few scenes that we actually they were done so well that we tried to kind of pay homage to them in some ways. So like for instance, when she's punching in the snow, that was something we took from the documentary. The prom in Flint, like it may seem like a fairy tale in the movie, but that is Flint prom is like colorful and the cars. And so the freedom to sort of treat it like a tone poem and shoot slow motion and really lean into the vibrancy of it, I would say that came from the doc. And then, some of the fight sequences, like not the boxing sequences, but the emotional two-hander, that dynamic between Jason and Clarissa, like, there are moments, I mean, this I wouldn't say is as shot for shot, but like, you really understand the characters and their dynamic and that magnetic chemistry, which thankfully Brian and Ryan brought in spades. But I think being able to really see the, real Jason and real Clarissa with each other. And, there's a scene in the documentary, which was not in the film, but like where he's kind of scolding her for her grades while like rapping her, and that sort of father-daughter dynamic and all the things I think really influenced the final film.
And what sells it is the incredible performances from Ryan and Brian. The chemistry, like you said, is just magnetic. How did you help them unlock this dynamic of loving each other so much and also butting heads to really bring these characters to life?
I mean, there's so much truth in in the writing and in the performance. Like that is real Clarissa and real Jason. They are both. I know them both very well now. I've been working on this project for a long time, but like they are so stubborn, but like and kind of the two peas in the pod conundrum, right? But also so much love there. So I really was just trying to capture that spirit, and I think in the case of Clarissa and some of the more complicated dynamics, like say with her father and her mother, again, it's like the real people are so nuanced and so textured and so well intentioned that I think that helped us to keep everybody feeling really grounded and kind of avoid it becoming ever like tropey, because in reality, people, I think the best of us are well-intentioned but flawed, as opposed to these sort of perfect, aspirational. Like the second everything's too perfect, you stop believing it. And I think there's something so universal, so relatable. There's something in this film for everybody because people are real. And like there's love and good intentions, but also flaws and mistakes. And like that's life.
When I was chatting with Ryan and like you mentioned, COVID shut this film down just a couple days into filming and was revived 2 years later. And Ryan was mentioning that she felt that extra time really helped her ultimately feel more prepared. So
Yeah.
other than casting changes and things like that, how do you feel? Were there any ways that the downtime helped you also feel more prepared to make this movie?
Yeah. I mean, one example is some of the television directing I've done was during that time was, in order to stay close to home with my kids, I was taking whatever shows were in LA, which happened to be great shows. I got to do an episode of Mandalorian and The Morning Show, an Impeachment. But so I was sort of building my chops in television, which is not, it's not the same as feature directing, but I think I definitely came back to the set with more experience and more confidence. And then I think the biggest thing, which maybe Ryan mentioned, is like anytime you come this close to losing something, you feel so fortunate when you get it back. And like it just sets the stakes and the bar so high that you really want to bring put your best foot forward, I guess, and give it your absolute all. So I think both Ryan and I came back just so grateful to be getting to finish this thing that we had started and willing to kind of throw it all on the line. Like I think both of us, are taking a big chance. Like for me, pivoting from cinematography, which is I love and I feel very confident and safe doing and putting myself out there in a real way. And for Ryan, it's a very different performance than some of the work she's done in the past, and a different level of vulnerability. And so she came back really willing to go there. Yeah.
Well, there are some obvious connections between Clarissa and with your own story. Clarissa winning gold, and then breaking down these barriers, and you breaking down barriers in cinematography. Do you find yourself still fighting for equity in the same way that Clarissa did after winning her gold? She hit these huge highs and still had to fight for the money she deserved, the opportunities she deserved. Do you find that still in your career as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think for women in the film industry, I can't speak to the financial parity because you don't really know what other people are getting paid, but I think we're still the exception to the rule. And, certainly that was one of my ways into this film, was that as a female cinematographer, I'm used to it. It's not enough to just be good at the work, just be good at the craft, or let it just be about the work. It's sort of the focus always gets put back on, well, can you, how are you going to handheld this really heavy camera? I'm like, of course I can. Like, are you kidding me? And so there's always these extra steps and like the perceptions around, how do you carry yourself? How do you present? I think we've made some strides, but I actually thought we'd be a lot further by now in the industry, to be honest. It feels like it was a bit of a couple steps forward and then a couple steps back, and maybe we'll eventually go forward again. But at the same time, I'm bolstered each time I see, Alice Brooks just shot Wicked, which was really exciting as a cinematographer, and obviously there's some really great female directors in the mix right now. So hopefully we'll just keep going forward.
Absolutely. Well, we can't wait to see what's next for you as a director. You've worked with so many incredible directors over the course of your career. I'm sure on every project you're picking up new things here or there. What are some specific learnings that you picked up along the way that you took into directing The Fire Inside?
I mean, I think one of the biggest things from like almost 20 years of set experience as a DP is the set totally functions from the top down. So you can feel when it's being led with respect and with joy and with care, and then the reverse, right? When everybody's tense and nobody's having a good time. And I think I came into it, knowing that it was my opportunity to like lead from the top and to make sure we all like loved and respected each other, and you build this sort of family, especially because you're often leaving your own families at home to do the work that we do for long hours. Like, so you have to really, I find that like you make it worth it by appreciating the people around you and seeing them and recognizing the great work that they're doing and giving them the space to do that great work as opposed to micromanaging them. Those are certainly some of the things, and then I think with working with the actors, I, as a cinematographer, but also I operate. And so I've seen the difference between, some directors like to be at a monitor and often quite far from the set, and other directors like to really just be there. Ryan Coogler is an example, like on set, sometimes not even looking at the monitor, just really being present for the actor. And my experience was that was really effective, and that the actors feel safer that way. They feel seen that way. So I did a decent amount of operating on this, but when I wasn't actually operating, I was right next to the camera in the room, just out of the field of view so that I could be there for my talent.
It's amazing. Well, I'll let you go with one last question. What I love about The Fire Inside is, of course, the relationship between Clarissa and Jason, and I love seeing Jason push Clarissa and see something inside her that she didn't always see herself. Who are those Jasons in your life? The people who helped develop you into the filmmaker that you are and made an impact in your life?
I mean, to be honest, I think I always wish that I had a Jason. There's certainly some of the filmmakers we were just talking about, like Ryan Coogler and Rick Famuyiwa and John Ridley, are the ones that pushed me out into the arena and maybe saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And that gave me the confidence to step out there. But in terms of a mentorship, like, I was always too shy to ask. It's amazing to me now, like, everybody from somebody who's an audience member at a screening to a PA to a camera who want to exchange numbers and have like who you know, and I never had the courage to do that. And so as a result, as I was coming up as a DP, like the bigger the sets, you know, even Black Panther, like the biggest set I'd ever been on was my own. I'd never actually been on, you know, an intern for or AC on a bigger set. So I sort of had to do it myself, and I wish that I didn't. And I think I do think there's really something. I mean, Jason Crutchfield as a human, he's still out there Monday through Friday teaching these kids at Burston Fieldhouse, and he means so much to them, and he makes such a difference. Like, he's the real unsung hero. I mean, Clarissa's starting to get the dues. I mean, she still deserves so much more, but Jason, I think, is everything. And I know for Brian, who did have more of a mentors in his life, like I think that was something that he really, part of the reason he signed on to this and wanted to take that role on is because of how valuable his mentors have been to him. But yeah, I wish I'd had that.
Well, we can't wait for more people to see the film this Christmas and to experience
Me
Clarissa's
too.
story.
Yes.
So, Rachel, thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for the film. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you.